A textile tycoon built a skyscraper in this city to save the remains of Dante from the ravages of World War I called the Palacio Barolo. In this city, one can visit the tomb of the twice-dead socialite Rufina Cambaceres in Recoleta Cemetery. A memorial of this city commemorates where an Israeli embassy stood until it was destroyed in a 1992 bombing. The president shuffles between a mansion in this city's Olivos suburb and an office building that houses the seat of Rivadavia known as the Pink House. In 1882, a youth group proclaimed this city's heavily Italian barrio of La Boca as an independent country. Porteños are residents of, for 10 points, what city on the estuary of the Rio de la Plata, the capital of Argentina? And the answer is Buenos Aires. A building in this city contains 15 rocks in a rectangular pool of raked gravel, arranged such that visitors cannot view all the rocks simultaneously. The uppermost floor of another building in this city is called the Cupola of the Ultimate and is topped by a bronze statue of a phoenix. So-called Nightingale floors were built to ward off assassins at Nijo Castle in this city, which is the largest in its country to have a grid-like plan modeled on China's Xi'an. The Saihoji Temple in this city houses a celebrated example of a waterless, rock-filled Zen garden. In 1950, an acolyte burned down a religious building in this city whose top 2 floors had gilding. For 10 points, name this Japanese city home to the Temple of the Golden Pavilion. And the answer is Kyoto. Ignacio de Arteaga led an expedition to this region, and on the site of native Barabaras, Three Saints Bay was the first European settlement in this region. This U.S. region was the western terminus of a corridor through the Laurentide region. That corridor was thought to have allowed overkill and housed the ancestors of the Clovis culture. A colonial conflict in this region saw the Tlingit lose the Battle of Sitka. Found by Bering's expedition for 10 points, named this state bought by William Seward for the U.S., formerly controlled by the Russian-American company, the northernmost state. And the answer is Alaska. This region's island of Temwen, off the coast of Pohnpei, contains non-Madol. Unlike the Phoenix and Line Islands, the Gilbert Islands are in this region. An Australian-owned phosphate mine on an island in this region was exhausted by the early 2000s, and that island is the most overweight country in the world, Nauru. This non-Polynesian region was first inhabited by the Lapita, whose inhabitants include the Chamorro. With Palikir as the capital of a namesake country, for 10 points, name this region of Oceania containing the Carolines, Marshalls, and Marianas, whose name means small islands. And the answer is Micronesia. The Liard River joins this river at Fort Simpson, and the only bridge across this river is 10 kilometers north of Fort Providence, the De Cho Bridge. This river's namesake branded it Disappointment River after finding that it did not end in the ocean he expected. A tributary of this river forms when the Peace and Athabasca rivers meet. That river is the Slave River. The Great Bear River also flows into this river that ends on the Beaufort Sea and starts at the Great Slave Lake. For 10 points, name this river in the Northwest Territories, the longest entirely in Canada. And the answer is Mackenzie River. This country's largest island is often called Fernando Pau for its discoverer and lies in the Bight of Bonny. This country's new planned capital of Oyala has been renamed Ciudad de la Paz and lies east of its largest city, Bata. This country's island of Annobon lies south of its Rio Muni region and is separated by São Tomé and Príncipe from its largest island, Bioko. This country, northwest of Gabon and south of Cameroon, has capital Malabo. For 10 points, name this only African country to officially speak Spanish, which shares part of its name with a country with capital Bissau. And the answer is the Republic of Equatorial Guinea. Ancellus Lake is a predecessor of this body of water, and the Sambia Peninsula is located in this body of water. Oulu and Vasa are located on this body of water. The Great and Little Belts drain this body of water into the Kattegat, and Lake Peipus flows into it. Islands in this sea include Åland and Gotland, and Kaliningrad Oblast borders this sea. The Gulfs of Bothnia, Finland, and Riga are parts of this sea, and cities on its shore include St. Petersburg and Stockholm. For 10 points, name this sea whose namesake states include Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. And the answer is the Baltic Sea. The first European in this body of water was the second in command of Pedro Fernandez de Queiroz. It's not the Antarctic Sea, but in 20,000 leagues under the sea, the Nautilus gets stuck in this body of water. This body of water, north of the Cape York Peninsula, contains a submerged portion of the Great Dividing Range and connects the Arafura Sea with the Coral Sea. Inhabited by namesake Melanesian islanders, often grouped with the Aborigines. For 10 points, name this strait between Australia and New Guinea. And the answer is the Torres Strait. The Shaibanids were based in this country, whose city of Karshi was the last capital of the Chagatai Khanate. Kantubek in this country is a ghost town where the Department of Defense neutralized over 100 tons of anthrax. A pass to the east of this country connects the neighboring city of Osh with this country's Fergana Valley. This country contains the lower reaches of the Amu Darya, where extensive cotton production has dried up the southern half of the Aral Sea. For 10 points, name this doubly landlocked country with capital Tashkent directly south of Kazakhstan and west of Kyrgyzstan. And the answer is Uzbekistan. This body of water contains a namesake naval shipyard located at Bremberton. Islands in this body of water include Lopez Island, San Juan Island, and Fidalgo Island. The Duwamish Waterway empties into Elliott Bay in this body of water. A city on this body of water contains a Queen Anne district and a building designed by John Graham Jr. This body of water borders both the Kitsap Peninsula and an island which shares a name with the most populous city in British Columbia, Vancouver. For 10 points, identify this sound on which Seattle is located. And the answer is the Puget Sound.